You don't get destroyed because you are weak. You get destroyed because you are good. And somewhere deep inside you, you know it. You felt it, haven't you? That strange, quiet exhaustion that doesn't come from failure, but from trying too hard to be decent in a world that rewards something else entirely. You give, you understand, you hold back your anger, you forgive. And somehow, you are the one who ends up losing. Not once, not occasionally, but repeatedly, almost systematically. As if there's a hidden law you were never told about. That goodness, in its pure form, is not protected. It is exposed. And the more aware you become of this, the more unsettling it feels. Because it forces a question you don't want to ask. If being good leads to destruction, then what exactly is goodness worth? Dostoevsky understood this, not as an abstract idea, but as something lived, something endured. He didn't write about morality as a clean system. He wrote about people who tried to be good and were crushed by the very qualities that made them good. Not because they failed to be moral, but because they succeeded too completely. There is something dangerous about a person who refuses to play the game. You see, the world operates on a set of unspoken negotiations. You give, but only enough. You care, but not too deeply. You love, but with conditions. There are limits, boundaries, quiet manipulations. It's not evil. It's survival. A balancing act between self-interest and self-harmony. But you disrupt that balance. You listen when others are pretending. You forgive when others would retaliate. You stay when others would walk away. And in doing so, you create discomfort. Not admiration, discomfort. Because your goodness exposes something in others they would rather not see. Dostoevsky gave this form in The Idiot, not as a story, but as a psychological experiment. What happens when a truly good person enters a world built on compromise? Not a naive person, not a weak one, but someone genuinely incapable of malice, manipulation, or calculation. What happens? He gets destroyed. Not because people hate him, but because they don't know what to do with him. And neither do you. You think goodness should protect you. You think if you act with sincerity, people will recognize it, respect it, maybe even reciprocate it. But that belief carries a hidden assumption that others want to be confronted with sincerity. They don't, because sincerity is not neutral. It is a mirror. When you are honest, you remind others of the lies they tell themselves. When you are kind without agenda, you expose the transactions behind their kindness. When you forgive, you make their grudges look small. And they feel it. Not consciously, rarely consciously, but they feel it. And people do not like to feel small. So they resist you, not openly, not violently, but subtly. They misunderstand you. They dismiss you. They take advantage of you. Not because they are evil, but because your presence destabilizes their internal equilibrium. You make things too real. Think about your own life. Those moments where you chose to be patient when you could have been harsh. Where you gave someone the benefit of the doubt. Where you stayed longer than you should have because you believed in something, someone, more than they believed in themselves. What happened? Did they rise to meet you? Or did they slowly begin to lean on you, depend on you, drain you, until what you gave became expected, and what you needed became invisible? There is a quiet tragedy in being good. It is not that you suffer because others are cruel. It is that you suffer because others are ordinary. They are inconsistent, contradictory, self-protective. And you You are not. That is where the fracture begins. Dostoevsky's insight was not that people are evil. It was that people cannot tolerate purity for long. Not because purity is wrong, but because it demands something from them they are unwilling to give.
To encounter real goodness is to be judged by it, whether you want to be or not. And judgment, even silent judgment, provokes resistance. So they reshape you. They reinterpret your intentions. They question your motives. They label your sincerity as naivete, your patience as weakness, your forgiveness as lack of self-respect. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, you begin to doubt yourself. Not because you were wrong, but because you were alone. This is where the psychological conflict deepens, because the destruction of good people is not always external. It doesn't come as a dramatic betrayal or a sudden collapse. It comes as erosion. You start to hesitate before being kind. You second-guess your instincts. You wonder if maybe, just maybe, you should become a little colder, a little sharper, a little less you. And that thought feels like betrayal, but also like relief. Because being good is exhausting. Not in the way effort is exhausting, but in the way restraint is exhausting. In the way constantly choosing not to hurt, not to manipulate, not to take advantage, wears something down inside you. There's a part of you, quiet, buried but real, that wants to stop, wants to let go of the responsibility of being better. Dostoevsky knew this too. He knew that goodness is not effortless. It is a tension, a discipline, a continuous act of resistance, not just against the world, but against yourself. Because inside you, there is also something else, something impatient, something resentful, something that watches others succeed through manipulation and thinks, why not me? And that thought terrifies you, because it feels like the beginning of corruption. But here is the deeper paradox, the one that hurts the most. You are not destroyed despite your goodness. You are destroyed because of your relationship to it. Because you don't just act good, you identify with it. It becomes your foundation, your justification, your sense of meaning. And that makes you vulnerable. Because when goodness is who you are, not just what you do, any failure of goodness feels like a failure of self. So when people mistreat you, you don't just feel hurt. You feel confused. You replay the situation. What did I do wrong? Was I too much? Was I not enough? You search for logic in something that was never logical. Because the truth is harder to accept. Sometimes there was nothing to fix, no adjustment to make, no better version of you that would have changed the outcome. Sometimes the problem was that you were exactly what you were supposed to be, and that was incompatible with what they wanted. And that realization leaves you with a terrifying freedom. Because if being good doesn't guarantee safety, then what does? Dostoevsky wrestled with this question not as philosophy, but as survival. He stood before a firing squad, believing he was about to die, only to be spared at the last moment. He knew what it meant to have everything stripped away, certainty, control, even time itself. And what he discovered was not comfort, it was intensity. Life, in its rawest form, is not about fairness. It is about confrontation with yourself, with others, with the contradictions that define existence. And one of those contradictions is this: the desire to be good coexists with the desire to be free.
and they are not always aligned. Because to be truly good, you must restrain yourself. You must choose the higher path even when it costs you. You must sacrifice impulses, opportunities, advantages. But to be free, you must be able to choose otherwise. You must be capable of cruelty, even if you reject it. And this is where many good people collapse, not externally, but internally. Because they suppress the darker parts of themselves so completely that they lose access to choice. They don't choose to be good, they have no other option. And that is not goodness. That is limitation.
Dostoevsky's characters often reveal this uncomfortable truth. A person who cannot do evil is not necessarily virtuous. They are incomplete. And incompleteness is fragile. Because when pressure builds, when resentment accumulates, when exhaustion sets in, when the world refuses to respond the way it should, that suppressed part does not disappear. It returns. Suddenly, intensely, in moments you don't recognize yourself. A sharp word where there was once patience. A cold withdrawal where there was once warmth. A quiet, unsettling thought. Maybe I should stop caring. And you feel it. That shift. That crack. And you don't know whether to fear it or welcome it. Because part of you understands something has to change. But what? Do you become harder? Do you lower your expectations? Do you stop giving so much? Or do you continue, knowing the cost? This is the real torment, not the suffering itself, but the inability to resolve it. Dostoevsky never gave a clean answer. He didn't believe in clean answers. He believed in tension, in the idea that human beings are defined not by resolution, but by contradiction. And perhaps that is the final unsettling truth. Good people are not destroyed because the world is cruel. They are destroyed because they refuse to become what the world requires and cannot fully remain what they are. They stand in between, too aware to be naive, too sincere to be cynical, too good to exploit others, too human not to feel the cost. And so they carry it, quietly, until something gives. So now the question returns to you, but it is no longer abstract. It is personal. If your goodness continues to cost you, if it isolates you, exhausts you, leaves you questioning yourself, will you hold on to it? Or will you change, just enough to survive? And if you change, at what point do you stop being the person you were trying to protect?